And we'll start with roll call, please.
Michelle Merkin? Here.
Sorry, Ryan.
TJ Donnellier?
Here.
Stephanie Etterman?
Yes.
Randy Heidman?
Here.
Sarah Spear?
Here.
John Ward?
Here.
All present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting of the Brainerd School Board is being conducted in accordance with Minnesota Statutes 13D.02. This meeting is being live streamed. Access to the recording is available on the school district's YouTube channel. I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make it.
Second.
We've got a motion by Director Edelman, a second by Director Heidman. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carries. We've got a number of recognitions here tonight. If you guys are okay with it, I will just read through them. The Brainerd High School Windfall Choir has been named one of 3 national finalists in the High School Chamber Music Division of the American Prize. Nearly 50 Brainerd choir students participated in the Section 8AA Solo and Ensemble Contest in Bemidji High School, earning superior and excellent ratings across all performances. The a cappella choir traveled to Orlando over spring break, performing at the Universal Amphitheater and participating in a Foley sound production clinic. Students created sound for a short film and gained unforgettable experience. The BHS Bards and Concert Chorale Choirs both earned superior ratings at the Section 8AA Large Group Contest. The BHS Symphonic Band, Concert Band, and Sinfonia Orchestra all achieved a superior rating at the 8AA Regional Large Group Contest in Bemidji on April 8th. The BHS Wind Symphony submitted an outstanding recorded performance as part of their virtual 2026 MMEA Midwinter Convention. The link to the video will be supplied to the school board members via email. Brainerd High School teacher Dave Warsh, who's with us here tonight, was named the Brainerd Public Schools Teacher of the Year. Congratulations. And 5 amazing women were recently inducted into the Legendary Women of Brainerd Public Schools. The 2026 inductees are Teresa Thiesing-Goebel, class of 1968, Cheryl Wentworth Matheson, class of 1981, Judy Bialka, class of 1986, Dr. Tori Barr, 2005, and Shayla Paradise, also 2005. All right, next up we have public input. A member of the public can address the board during this time. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Complaints or allegations against students or employees may not be discussed due to data privacy. Complaints or allegations must be submitted in writing to Superintendent Grant. The Board of Education and/or Superintendent will not converse with guests to address the topics discussed at this time. First up, we have Doug Kern, please. Doug, sorry. You're up.
Not paying attention, I guess. Thank you. Yeah, so today I received the data request that I asked for quite a while back, and only seen a couple of concerns on it. One of the main concerns was a candidate that's running for school board was actually going back and forth on the student walkout with a teacher, using public, facilities, public, whatever, computers. That is a concern, but I haven't looked at all the information that was provided yet, and I still have concerns about that student walkout and who was actually behind it, because I don't believe it was a student protest. It was student-led. So with that, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Tim Ettinger, please.
Dear members of the school board and Superintendent Grant, my name's Tim Ettinger. I live in Nisswa. Been a retired public school teacher with 35 years of experience. I'm here again because I care deeply about Brainerd Public Schools and the community it serves. At the March school board meeting, data was requested as to why teachers are leaving the profession. I have some data for you here tonight. I did an internet search. I chose the first 4 scientific studies displayed and 1 study from a staff development agency. I attempted to send it to you via your school emails and I failed repeatedly. My bad. So I sent the email to somebody to print it out for you, and Director Donlinger was kind enough to make sure everybody got a copy of that, and there's a little disclaimer at the top. I didn't try to explain too much. I just provided lists as they appeared in the studies, in the summary of the studies. My next task involves Superintendent Grant. I believe you were quoted on March 25th in the paper stating, "I don't take the negotiations process personally. It's just a business decision." I can assure you that the employees of the school district definitely take the negotiations process personally for 2 huge reasons. First, they know the quality contracts attract and retain the best employees for their students, which the data truly bears out. Second, although working in public education is a vocation, no matter what your career choice is, it is also the manner through which employees provide for the health and well-being of their families. For these 2 reasons, it's a highly personal endeavor for each of them. Finally, at the last school board meeting, I asked about the tardiness of the annual audit report, which is actually reflective of the previous year's fiscal year. It's traditionally been shared in January, and I'm happy to see it's finally on the agenda for the April meeting tonight. This one time of the year that professional eyes from outside the school district report on the finances of the school district. I encourage the community to take note, comparing this audit report to last year's audit report, and to use your informed perspective to ask questions. Remember, the stated purpose of the per pupil funding a school district is provided by the legislature is that it is to be used to educate the students in that school district during that 2-year period. Doesn't say anything about stockpiling or saving money in an unreserved balance for another day. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Amy Guardapie, please. Welcome.
Good evening, board members, community, and colleagues. My name is Amy Guardapie. I currently serve as special education teacher at Lowell Elementary. I'm a parent to 2 amazing young ladies. I'm part of many groups in the area. I grew up a CI Ranger. I was very happy, but always wanted to be a warrior. I saw my cousins having opportunities I could only dream about in a smaller community. I look up to all of my family that have served and are still serving as teachers all over the state. My dream of becoming a warrior had to wait until I could be a teacher, and even then was paused because at the time I was seeking employment, no one was leaving or wanted to leave Brainerd. Brainerd was the place to be. I wanted my own children to grow up warriors. I wanted them to have the opportunities, the reputation of being a warrior. My husband and I had many chances and places we could have gone, but ultimately, Brainerd Public Schools was the clear option. As a special education teacher in the district, I'm not so sure anymore. I go home with bruises, scratches, headaches, and heartaches. Many times I do have an explanation where these things come from, but I can't share them. My daughters are growing up thinking it's normal for their mom to get verbally and physically assaulted at school. They see it, they hear it, and it's become our norm. I do not get to share the details of my day-to-day with my husband because it will make him sad, angry, or feel helpless. This lifestyle is not for the faint of heart. Brainerd adopted the motto, "A place to belong," and to be truthful, I don't know if this is where I belong anymore. Seeing how our board functions is disheartening. Hearing every month how our board members are pro-teachers, pro-learning, pro our students, but never seeing them enter the building I teach in makes these statements difficult to believe. I've had the pleasure of hosting only 1 board member in my room since I have started at the Brainerd District 5 years I have served here, even though I've invited all of you more than 1 occasion. The word transparency comes to mind, the word that people use to try and state that they are being open and honest. Transparency also means being hard to see, and quite frankly, you've been hard to see in our buildings. I see many of you at my second job as well. Yes, a person who has attended 7 years of college has chosen to get a second job. I see how many of you act when you're not sitting in front of a camera. This carries over in the volunteer work my daughters do and I do as well. We've experienced you walking past us with no acknowledgement or even noticing our existence. The groups I'm part of feel worked around, forgotten, flat out rejected. I see the fatigue on my colleagues' faces. I cannot speak for all, but this is the mentality of many. Do more with less is the unspoken motto and expectation. Many of my colleagues in all positions are afraid to speak out, to show up here, because they can become targeted. I may be a cog in the district machine, but I do matter. I matter just as much as every single worker in the district, and we all deserve to be seen. Each of you have been elected by this community to do a big job. Please remember why you sit at this table, how you wanted to make an impact for people who voted you in, and how you wanted the warrior way to mean something great once more.
Thank you, Amy. Next up, we have Alan Bosley, please. Welcome, Alan.
Good evening. These are my 3 minutes. My father-in-law was part of the last graduating class at Washington High School. He trained, worked, and served in this community for years. His property taxes helped support the district, and every time he was asked to increase that support, he voted yes. He is ISD 181. My mother-in-law was among the first graduates at the current Brainerd High School. She also served this community for years, and like him, she always voted yes. She is ISD 181. My wife graduated from Brainerd High School in 1995. She dedicated herself to academics, swimming and diving, and gymnastics. She gave countless hours, blood, sweat, and tears. She even suffered a broken nose during one diving meet. Key club member, team captain, MVP. She's also a teacher at Lowell Elementary. After 13 years in the district, she recently learned during a school board meeting that her position would be cut. No warning, no discussion, no prior notification. She gives countless hours beyond her workday, works weekends, and is often emotionally and physically exhausted from the care that she gives to her students and the families. She is ISD 181. I graduated from BHS in 1995, NHS member, graduate with distinction. I was part of the first Brainerd Warrior State baseball championship team. I gave countless hours, blood, sweat, and tears. I even suffered a broken finger against a then undefeated Moorhead football team. Today, I served as licensed school counselor at Brainerd High School. I support the immense needs of our students. Just last Friday, I had a request to meet with a student. I was the one to tell them that their last living parent had just passed away. This work is emotionally taxing. I've coached at all levels. I've been a PLC leader, a curriculum leader, and I've served on countless district committees. My wife and I live in the district, and every time we've been asked to increase our support, we vote yes. We are ISD 181. Our 3 daughters all graduated from Brainerd High School. They've dedicated countless hours to academic, sports, clubs, activities, and the arts. They too gave blood, sweat, and tears. One broke her femur playing for the Warrior soccer team. Honor graduates, captains, graduate speaker, MVPs. They are ISD 181. The work of serving students and families every day is demanding. It takes a special kind of person to choose this profession. The certified staff, educational assistants, and the secretarial staff in this district are ISD 181. Yet negotiation efforts for these groups have been minimal, if not entirely absent. ISD 181 will be here long after your terms have expired. We should not be the ones to carry the burden of unresolved contracts. I ask you, come to the table, remove the barriers, set aside legal posturing, work together and solve this. This is your responsibility to resolve so that ISD 181 can get back to doing what we do, serving students and families. These are my 3 minutes.
Thank you. Next up, we have Dave Borish, please. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. This past week, the Brainerd High School Knowledge Bowl team competed at the Minnesota Service Cooperative's 2026 Senior High State Knowledge Bowl competition at Cragun's Resort. Current data indicates there were a total of 800 teams representing roughly 290 school districts throughout Minnesota. This event consisted of the top 48 teams compiled from each of the 11 regions, was then divided into 3 divisions based on school population. Brainerd was placed in the AAA division, which included schools from Duluth, Edina, Bemidji, Minnetonka, Northfield, Moorhead, Marshall, Elk River, Sartell, St. Stephen, and Chaska, just to name a few. This year, the Brainerd team advancing to the state tournament consisted of Emmeline Boson, Drea Dede, Tucker Hansen, Kyle Sandberg, and Thomas Verips. All of these students are current freshmen at BHS. Yeah, freshmen. This is significant because they competed against upperclassmen from all these other schools. As their coach, as we headed out there, I told the teams before the competition I wanted them to do 3 things for me. 1, have fun. Have fun. It's a unique experience. They should enjoy every minute of it. 2, learn from this. They are given an opportunity to compete against the top minds in the state, and they're going to gain a new perspective that very few people get. And number 3, don't come in last. Please don't come in last. Again, in the AAA division, there are a total of 18 teams, and that's where we were. I just begged them not to come in last. I'm happy to report that they had fun bonding as a team. They learned from the experience and will take this knowledge with them into the competitions next year. And hey, guess what? They came in 17 out of 18 teams. Whew, they weren't in last place. This year, Sourcewell Region 5, that's our region, sent 4 teams to the state competition, 2 from Aiken, 1 from Brainerd, and 1 from Pine River Bacchus. The Pine River Bacchus team took 5th in the single A division, while the 2 teams from Aiken took 2nd and 3rd in single A division. These are the teams that we competed against during the KB season. As a whole, I'm very proud to report and say that we represented Section 5 well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's it for public comment tonight. We'll move on to the approval of minutes, and I'll look for a motion to approve our March 16th minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We've got a motion by Director Edelman, a second by Director Ward. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Next up, we have the consent calendar. There's a number of things on there. We'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair? I'd like to remove and discuss a little bit further the EA early retirement incentive. I'm just looking for a clarification and information. Not opposed to anything, but I guess I don't understand it because it's never been discussed. And I'd also like to take out the food service early retirement incentive MOU and do the same thing, just ask questions and discuss again. I'm not opposed to any of it. I'm just, there's some questions that I have.
Would you like to discuss these individually or as a pair?
Well, they're 2 separate discussions, but I mean, my questions are the same for both, but I don't know if there's any other directors that have any concerns or not. I mean, or they have questions, that's all. So I don't see why we can't do it with just 1.
Okay, we will put that as number 7 under new business. All right, and we'll look for a motion to approve the consent calendar sans the 2 MOUs.
Make a motion?
Okay. Got a motion by Director Heidemann.
I'll second.
Second by Director Brecken. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. We'll move on to old business. Up for action tonight, we have the nomination and election of 26 officers. We'll look for nominations for chairperson.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
For chairperson, I nominate Sarah Spear.
I'll second.
We have a nomination for chairperson for Sarah Spear. Are there any further nominations? Any further nominations? If not, we've got 1 nominee, so we will vote. I guess we don't need a roll call vote, if that's okay. All those in favor of electing Sarah Spear as chairperson signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Look for a nomination of vice chair.
I would like to nominate DJ Donovan for vice chair.
All right, we've got a nomination for vice chair. Any further nominations? Any further nominations? If not, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. We've got a new vice chair. Congratulations, Director Donalinger. And we will look for nominations for a clerk.
I'll be the clerk.
I'll nominate Vandy.
Okay.
Okay. We've got a nomination for Director Heidemann. Any further nominations? Any further nominations? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Congratulations, Mr. Heidemann. And we'll look for nominations for treasurer.
Michelle Brecken.
We've got a nomination for Director Brecken. Any further nominations? Any further nominations? All right, if not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. We've got a new slate of officers. Congratulations and thanks, you guys.
Oh, you're on a roll.
We will move on to new business for actions. We have the approval of the 2024-25 annual audit report presented by Marcy Lord and Becca Nielsen. Welcome, Marcy.
Thank you. Sorry, I was slacking over there. So I'm going to introduce Becca. Actually, I'll let her introduce herself, but she's with Clifton Larson Allen. Typically in the past, we have had Mary Reedy. She was not able to make it tonight, so we have Becca in her place. She's the manager at CLA. So I'll let you take it away, Becca.
Well, as Marcy said, I'm Becca Nielsen. I'm manager on CLA's audit team today, here to go over the 2025 audit results. So, as auditors, our primary responsibility is to provide an opinion on the presentation of the financial statements and whether or not we believe them to be fairly presented and free from errors. So we perform our audit on a risk-based approach, which is saying that we apply more testing to areas we deem to be a higher risk, such as revenues. So this year, we performed our testing over internal controls to ensure that they were operating effectively. We selected a sample of disbursement and receipts to test and confirmed cash amounts with the bank and debt amounts with lenders. And then we also confirmed amounts that are passed through from the state. This year, we did not identify any unusual transactions. However, there was a new accounting standard that was implemented this year. So GASB 101, compensated absences. This is a new standard over your leave balances that we had to retroactively apply. So as the change was material this year, or for the beginning balances, we had to restate those in order to implement the change. So this new standard was one that took quite a bit of time. So thank you to Marcy and your team for the additional work. We know that took a little bit this year to get that implemented.
And I just wanted to add that I sent it in the board memo, but I shared the data. Typically, we had to calculate the vacation balances, and it was about 127 balances. For this, we had to calculate 1,151 balances because it included PTO and sick. I know that this is late. The audit is late. We all know that. We've had staffing turnover, and then this new implementation was quite time-consuming because we have to take the balances times the pay rate, add an accounting code, and as Rebecca said, we had to do it retroactive. So 1,151 was for this year, and 1,303 was for last year. So
Why is it retroactive? The EST, is it ESST?
No, it's because our financial statements are comparative. If we didn't compare to the prior year, then it wouldn't have been retroactive. But since we do that, and Becca, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but
What is it? GASB.
Government Accounting Standards Board. The standards we have to live by, basically.
Well, I understand, but how did you go from 125 to 1,500?
Because they implemented this new standard. So
So if I leave for an hour, You used to be able to handle that different than now. Is that what it is?
We didn't have to include those balances. We
Right.
only had to include vacation. Now we have to include PTO, sick, all. Yep.
Thanks, state of Minnesota.
And that's, and that's the main reason, Marcy, why there was the delay. Is that kind of one of the
That
biggest
was
reasons?
a part of it, but also staff turnover.
Right, okay,
We've
okay.
struggled with that in our office, so it was a combination. Sorry, didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No, no, you are just fine. So moving on to the next slide. So as auditors, we review management judgments and accounting estimates made to determine that they were reasonable. And then we determined that all amounts and disclosures were adequate, clear, and complete for this year. Then we also review information in the required supplementary information section and the supplementary information of the financial statements. So that's in the back of your big bound documents. Just to ensure that those amounts tie back to the basic financial statements. However, we do not issue an opinion on the required supplementary information. We had no disagreements with management this year, and then we did add some additional risks this year based on items we identified during our testing. So we added a risk over the bank reconciliations and inventory balances, which I will discuss here in more detail in a bit. So we did not consult with other accountants this year. No major issues were discussed with management. Personnel and records were available during fieldwork this year. However, there was some delay in receiving the final information, like Marcy had mentioned. We didn't receive our final trial balance until December this year, and then the final revised version of the GASB 101 spreadsheet was not received until the beginning of March. So with that, we weren't able to issue the final financial statements until all that was received. And then again, as Marcy mentioned, we do know that there was some turnover, and then again, GASB 101 was a bigger standard to implement for this year. And then also this year, we identified a few uncorrected adjustments that were immaterial to the financial statements overall, but they were items that we did identify. There were a couple inventory adjustments, food service, unearned revenue, and accounts receivable balances. And then subscription-based information technology arrangements were not recorded. And then an understatement of claims payable occurred. And then they passed on recording deferred inflows related to receivables. And then the final accounts receivable listings did not tie to the final general ledger. Again, all these were immaterial and were not adjusted since they were immaterial, but they were items that we did identify.
So is that what you're calling inventory?
One of them, yes.
Yes.
One of them's inventory.
Yeah.
So are you still gonna
Yes.
tell us what inventory is later, or I'd just like to know?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yep, I believe it's the next slide.
Okay, sorry.
And
Yep.
there's a new system for that too, is there?
We're trying to find one. Alyssa is, yep.
Okay.
Yep. So this year we did issue an unmodified or clean opinion on the financial statements. So that is the highest level of assurance that we can give. We identified one item as a material weakness this year, and that was for the preparation of financial statements. So CLA prepares your audited bound document. So this item is reoccurring, and it's very common for school districts in Minnesota. And then we also identified two significant deficiencies this year, or no, three significant deficiencies this year, which are items that we deem to be less severe than material weaknesses, but items that we did want to bring to your attention. So this year, bank reconciliations were not performed timely. So I believe the June bank reconciliation was not completed until December. And then the inventory listing at year end was not accurate. So there were items that were identified at our year end count that did not make it onto the district's inventory listing. And then there were items that were found on the listing during our count or there were items that were found on the listing that should not have been at year end. So both sides. And then also this year was some TRA and para reporting issues. So every year we select a sample of reports that are submitted to para and TRA, and we tie them back to payroll journals. And this year we found that there were several errors and adjustments that needed to be made and they were made by the district after the fact. Um, However, we find that it was very concerning that it was almost every single payroll period that we tested that errors were identified. So, and I believe Marcy has already brought this up to the new payroll manager, and they believe they found some ideas on how to resolve those issues going forward.
And that one isn't in the financial statements, it was a verbal comment, the TRA and para. So you won't see anything in the financial statements for that one.
We didn't identify any compliance-related findings this year. And then as part of our audit, we tested two major federal programs for our single audit testing, and that was over the Title I and child nutrition programs. And then no issues were identified over the testing of these programs this year. And then finally, we also go through the state of Minnesota's legal compliance questionnaires that are released by the state auditor's office, and no items were identified when going through these questionnaires.
I think to go back to your inventory question, just to explain
I
that.
still don't know what the
Yeah.
inventory is.
So the, Alyssa's staff does an inventory count, and it's multiple days, right? There's a lot in the warehouse. And we also have programs running, so they may count an item, and then it gets used maybe at summer school or one of their programs. And then if she's ordering as well after they've done their count, that's part of the problem. So she's looking at trying to get some sort of software that would track this rather than a manual count. So if they come in, if the auditors come and do their physical count June 30th and we did it June 15th, we've probably used some items and we've probably ordered some items that weren't a part of that original.
What's an item? Book?
No, food, a lot of it's food
Food.
service. Yep. I shouldn't say a lot of it. The whole thing's food service. So,
Well, that's gotta be tough to inventory food.
Yeah,
Correct.
I was trying to figure out what the inventory we were talking about, so.
Well, it should relieve the inventory, but
Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah.
I'm an inventory guy.
Okay, then moving on to our financial results. So this slide is showing the general fund. So in the current or for fiscal year 25, expenditures exceeded revenues by about $596,000. Revenues decreased from the prior year by about $1.4 million. Federal dollars decreased by about $3 million due to the district spending down the last of the COVID-related funding. And then in addition, state aid did increase this year by approximately $2 million. And most of that was due to an increase in special education aid. Your general ed aid did decrease from the prior year due to decrease in your student counts. And then there were a few new additional funding resources received this year, your literacy aid and your READ Act teachers comp aid. Your expenses increased by about $2.1 million from the prior year. So your special ed expenses increased by about $892,000, primarily due to your staffing and cost of living adjustments made during fiscal year 2025. Then your sites and buildings expenses also increased, primarily due to an increase in repairs and maintenance expenses. And then there was also an additional $300,000 in capital outlay expenses for 2025.
And if I
And
can,
then you'll see oh, yep, go ahead.
I was just gonna add, Director Ward had asked a question about, the fund balances, and I just want to point out, the amount of, or the chunk that says fund balance, I primarily present or focus on unassigned because that's the least restricted, right? So the restricted fund balance went up 721,000, but those are categories that we have restrictions on. So even though it looks like we ended the year better, we did, but it's not all in unassigned. I just want to point that out. And then on the actual to budget, the differences between budget revenues, I try to stay within 2% of the budget and expenses 3%. And it was 1.3% on revenues and 2.4% on expenses. So it seems like a large difference because it's millions, right? But in the grand scheme of the whole budget, it's a very small percentage.
And Marcy, thank you for getting back to me on those questions, but
Yeah.
the other thing is that as you go through the budget throughout the year, you, budget conservatively, to make, right? I mean,
For sure, because I'd rather be sitting up here in front of you guys saying we ended the year better than we ended the year worse. Like, that is not news I would want to deliver.
so the unassigned fund balance is a fluid, figure continually, correct?
Correct. And it has, I mean, since I've been here, it has ended the year better than projected.
And we are at, don't we have a 10%
Fund balance policy, yep,
fund balance policy?
correct.
And right now we're at,
She's
12?
going to get to that. It's 14.
oh, it's 14, okay?
And what do you attribute we ended, I mean, how do we end up better with the unassigned fund balance?
So one of the examples Becca gave was special ed aid. That came in larger than projected. Interest earnings,
Okay.
we put our best guess at that. If the markets do better, that's great. So it's a number. This last year, 24-25, we moved our summer program or summer school from June to July. So we have a budget there, but we didn't run those programs. So we were under budget, but we're going to have that then this year.
Marcy, this unassigned fund balance, is there a state law regarding that?
Nope, it is our policy. So a Brainerd Public Schools policy,
State recommends 30%,
25.
25.
Okay,
Our policy's 10.
And we're at 14.
we're at 14. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and that gives us how many, if the state gave us no money
A month and a half.
and said,
Yep.
yeah, sorry,
Month
we
and a
got no dough, how long could we stay open for
month and a half.
with our fund balance? So we'd go through 14.1 mil in a month and a half. Interesting.
A little more to it. Depends what month it is.
Well,
Well, if it's summer, it's a little easier.
Right,
Here's
no,
what's
I get it,
concerning-
I get
here's
it,
what's
I get
con- here's what jumps off the page at me, is that our expenses in 21 were 85.5. Our expenses now are almost 96 million. But yet our ADMs have gone down. So that's pretty concerning. When you start taking the ADMs into the deal, we're down at least 100, maybe 250 in that amount of time, 300. So you gotta right the ship. You know what I mean? It's like,
Oh, Marcy, to DJ's point, isn't some of that increase due to prices raising on everything that we have?
Yes.
And Impala was 14,000 last year, now this year it's 17,000,
Correct.
correct? I mean,
Yep.
part of it is,
Yep.
okay,
well, it's expenses, John.
I understand that.
It's gas, heat,
Yep.
lights.
Yep,
Everything.
But, 81% of our expense here is people.
yep.
That's our biggest expense. Health insurance, I mean, there's lots of things that go in there, but with our attendance down, we gotta be pretty prudent.
Yeah,
That's why we're having all the troubles that we're having, is this deal right
it's
here.
one of the reasons, yeah. Marcy, also, I think there's a proposal to cut back special education aid at the state level. Do you, when you guys do the audit, is that figured anywhere into the future?
No. So they
Okay,
just-
so that doesn't include any kind of mix that we might get, or like the 1975 special ed federal promise that has never been made, that does never come in, yeah, okay. Just wanted
That's
to
for
make that
next year.
statement.
We're good to go for this year.
Yeah,
Is it 250, John? I sent you the article. Or is it
5,000, I
Is it
think.
450?
what?
It's either 250 million or 450 million. How much was it? I sent you that article on it.
they're projecting the cut?
Projecting the cut.
250.
250.
Yeah.
So there's what, 330 school districts? We're one of the,
333.
Yeah,
we're one of the bigger ones. So it could be $1.5 million to us. It'd be a lot.
yeah, that'd be huge.
Doesn't end.
I'll turn it back over to you, Becca.
Okay. Well, I think Marcy went over most of the rest of the general fund, so I'll move on to the next slide. So you can see here, the slide is showing your breakout of your unassigned fund balance per ADM. So at the end of 2025, it did decrease slightly from about 2,495 at the end of 2024-25, from about $8,558 at the end of 23-24. So a bit of a decrease there in your unassigned fund balance. And as Marcy said, that is your main bucket that you guys can choose however you want to spend your dollars on. And then this next slide is showing the general fund unassigned fund balance as a percentage of expenditures. So at the end of fiscal year 25, the district's sitting at 14.7%. So that's a decrease from the prior year, which was sitting at about 15.95%. Then if you look back, it is still an increase over the 5 years ago, which was sitting at 12.6% in 2021.
And if we take into account the preliminary budget projection of the $2.2 million deficit, we'd be at 11.9%, just a FYI.
And the reason I thought last year was so good is we got that big shot in the arm at the end of the COVID money. If you look, it's like we took it more last year than we did this year.
If you
Or
look
2 years ago than we did last year.
just the last, 21, 22, 22, 23, I would attribute all of that is because of CARES money.
All that income we got.
We were able to recode expenses and get creative. If we didn't have that, I don't think we'd be looking at the same chart.
Okay. Moving on to the food service fund. So current year expenditures did exceed revenues by about $35,000, causing your fund balance to decrease in your food service fund. So revenues decreased in the current year by about $18,000. So there was a decrease in your state money coming in with your decrease in your student meal counts. And then expenditures did decrease by about $66,000 from the prior year due to a decrease in enrollment again in your student meals. And overall revenues were under budget and expenditures were under budget. Or yes. Yes, revenues were over budget and expenditures were under budget. Do you want to add anything else, Marcy, in addition, or?
Can you see my flag? I did just want to note that we were under budget in expenditures because we did see a big increase where we were actually over budget in 23-24 because of food expenses. So we increased our budget and we didn't see that big of an increase with food, which was good. But we were anticipating a larger expense.
Is the reason that it went from I know Mrs. Thompson does a good job at this, because Peter made me sit down and talk to her. Did we go from 3.2 million to 4.9 million because of the free lunch for everybody?
That's a good question.
I mean, if you look at 21, we're at 3.2. The next year, we're at 4.2, call it. Off a couple thousand.
Yeah.
Right? Well, that's pretty substantial.
It
It's
is.
35% increase. So is that because of free lunch for everybody? Is that what did that?
Honestly, I think it was because of pricing with COVID. Food
Remember we
prices.
had the farm to table, we had grants for that stuff.
Yep.
Is that like something we kind of got ourselves into and now we can't get out of it? Because we're still up there.
I don't think it was necessarily farm to table because a lot of that we get reimbursement on, but I think just overall food costs jumped when COVID happened.
50%.
Yeah.
I don't remember when free breakfast lunch came into play, but I don't think it was in 21, 22, or 24.
Right.
24 it was?
Was that the first
Okay,
year?
that's what I was,
That passed in 23, 24 was the first, when they first implemented it? Because the 24 is the 23, 24 school year, right?
Correct.
Well, that jumped it again, but not quite as bad.
yeah.
All right, I think we're good, Becca.
Okay. Then your community service fund. So current year revenues exceeded expenditures by about $80,000. So revenues decreased from the prior year by about, I think, $17,000. So your program enrollment decreased, but there was some additional state funding received this year. And then your expenses increased by about $188,000 from the prior year. So most of this was just due to a cost of living adjustment and benefit increases primarily. And then both your revenues and expenses were over budget at the end of the year. However, you're still seeing a net profit versus your budgeted was a deficit. Anything you wanted to add, Marcy?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Boy, the fluctuation in that community service that for the last 5 years is up and down, up and down, up and down. And it's significantly either up or down. Is there a reason for that?
You mean the bottom line or just this?
Yeah.
Revenues and expenditures, because the revenues just keep going up. Well, they went down last year, I guess.
It all depends on programming, right? What programs are we having and what programs are we not? Can we get, people to do those programs or not?
Okay.
But you're right, they're both up over $1 million. 4 years.
Yeah, it's weird to me.
Just keeps on trucking.
I think we're good.
Okay. So this slide is showing both your debt service fund and your capital projects. So your revenues in your debt service fund increased by about $1.1 million from the prior year. So this was all going to be your increase in property taxes going into this fund. And then your expenses did increase slightly. And then this just follows your scheduled debt payments and your interest payments on those bonds. Overall, your fund balance increased by about $825,000 at the end of the year. And then your capital projects fund, so your revenues decreased by about $83,000. Less cash and investments were held in this fund, so less interest was earned on those investments, causing that decrease in revenues. And then your expenses decreased by about $759,000 from the prior year, as those projects have been winding down.
Marcy, if the debt service that we have, or the debt that we have, if the service providers called us up tomorrow and said, yeah, it's all over, we're not gonna deal with your debt anymore, what would we owe? Just out of curiosity, how much debt are we into?
I don't have my, I do have,
Just out of curiosity.
yeah.
I mean, maybe I don't want to know, but I mean, it's just, you don't have to, that's fine, you can just get that to me.
Right in our financials.
The high 200s.
Okay.
Your bond was what, 235?
Yeah.
So GO bonds would be 198 million.
Okay.
And then we have leases and certificates of participation. So call it 200, just.
Yeah. For that ISD, blue at 181. So the blue 180, well,
Yeah.
yeah,
We don't want that call.
good luck.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Becca.
Okay. So this slide is just showing a chart of your revenues received for fiscal year 25, broken out by different types of sources. So you'll see your federal, your taxes, your other miscellaneous items, and then your state. So overall, from the prior year, this chart has stayed very similar, sitting at about 68% of your revenues coming in from the state. It's no.
A quick question, is the other local the referendum?
No, it'd be like lunch charges, athletic fees.
Really?
Yep.
That's nice to know.
So the referendum's in the 21% of,
The state.
oh, it's in
Oh.
the state, or is it in the?
Sorry.
taxes?
No, you're in taxes. You're right. Taxes.
21% of our stuff comes out of the local area. I mean, the state is the local area as well, but
Yep.
it's not quite so hand in hand as the stuff we get from the state.
Yeah, I'd combine the two. I'd say 27% because it's all our people.
Does the federal resources include the special ed reimbursement costs?
So all our federal money goes through the co-op. So we don't, this does not have sped special ed federal money.
Oh, okay.
This is
Okay.
food service, title, cares, well, what was left of.
So this slide is just more detail over the past 5 years of similar data to that previous slide. So as you can see here, your federal dollars did spike with that COVID funding, and now you'll see those revenue sources are dropping off, and you will see that again decrease next year with the last of the CARES dollars being spent. Your taxes increase slightly just following your levy changes. And then your state did increase slightly just with, again, like I mentioned, those new funding sources received this year, and then an increase in your special ed aid.
I'm assuming, Marcy, between June of '23 and '24 with the state going with, getting about an extra $9 million, I am assuming that was when they had the big increase in state
Correct.
revenues
Correct.
and then also record spending as well, so, okay.
Okay. And then this is a breakdown of your expenditures by program for the end of June 30th, 2025. You can see almost every category here broken out. Your instructional services are by far the largest, which is typically what we should see at a district at about 53%. Again, very consistent year over year. I didn't see any big changes when I looked back at fiscal year 24's data to 2025 with the breakout of expenses.
Can you give me an example of what's under instructional?
Teachers, paras,
Okay,
anything in the classroom.
okay, classroom stuff, okay. Thank you.
Okay. And then again, this is that same type of data broken out in more detail over the past 5 years. So your regular instruction, your special education, and your pupil support services are typically driven by changes in your salaries and benefits. So you can see that those all increased slightly this year. Sites and buildings expenses are where your capital projects are going. So that's why you'll see a huge decrease over the past 5 years.
I have a weird question. Why does our debt service keep going up? Oh, I suppose because we hadn't spent all the money yet. That's what it is, isn't it?
Yep. So
3 years ago, we hadn't spent it all, so this is about as high as it's gonna get then, I would guess.
it fluctuates. So
The rate does?
the principal and interest payments do. So it might go up next year, it might be.
Oh, I
drop.
remember seeing that.
Don't you remember?
Others.
Yep.
Yeah, we had that conversation.
Last
It's not like a
year.
regular mortgage.
Yes.
I don't know
Yeah.
why it does it. but-
Is it fixed for a year though? Those payments or those
Right. Like we have a debt schedule and
Right.
it's set for those
for
years.
that year?
Mhm.
Okay,
And the rate is set, the rate's
okay,
fixed.
okay.
It was so weird that they changed the payment changes.
Oh, the payment can change.
Payment does change.
Okay.
Because years ago really high and then there's
Yeah.
ones that starts coming back down.
Yes.
Okay.
Then this slide is another look at your expenditures. So just showing a breakout of by your object codes. So your salaries, you can see your benefits, where those different expenses are going within the district. So again, between your salaries and benefits, that makes up about 67% of your expenditures. So very consistent year over year, I believe it was 67% again in fiscal year 24.
81%.
Looking over the past 5 years, you'll see that your salaries and benefits have been increasing. Just, your cost of living adjustments, your capital expenditures decreased as the building projects have been winding down and being completed. And then your principal and interest payments, like Marcy just mentioned, they follow your set bond payment schedules. So we tie those out every year, so those are consistent with your schedules. Okay.
So teachers, instructional doesn't go in salaries then?
Get that again?
Well, if you look at this chart and then you look at this chart, I mean, they don't match.
It's part of our account code structure, so like you can group salaries and they can be a part of instructional, they can be a part of admin, but when you're talking salaries, it's everything.
Well, the salaries is way less than instructional.
Yep.
Then you got district support to add to that, then you got admin,
Because
community ed.
the instructional is gonna have salaries, benefits, all the things.
Oh, I see, benefits are in there.
Yep.
That explains it. Can't stump Marcy. There's ADMs.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This slide is showing the ADMs over the past 5 years. So we broke out your kindergarten, your elementary, and your secondary ADMs. You can see your enrollment numbers have been steadily declining over the past 5 years. Total decrease from fiscal year 24 to 25 was 172 students. And over the past 5 years, it was a drop in 494 ADMs. Okay. And then this slide is just showing a breakout of the resident students versus non-resident students enrolled within the district. So, your non-resident students are people with outside of the district opting in, and then your local resident students. And then this slide here, we like to look at and calculate what we call an open enrollment gain or loss within the district. So we take a look at the resident students opting out of the district versus the non-resident students opting in. So you can see over the past 5 years, it's been a open enrollment loss. So fiscal year 25, there were 345 non-resident students opting in versus 1,040 opting out, causing an overall loss of 695 students. Okay. So this slide is looking at your administration and district support costs per ADM. And then we compare it to your state average and other similar districts of your size. They didn't have the 2024-25 data available when we put together this presentation. Similar to last year, it's typically not available when we do our presentation, but you can see past 4 years, your administration and your district support costs have been below the average. I expect that to be very similar again for 2024-25. And then this slide is looking at your total instruction per ADM. So again, this is going to include your vocational instruction, your special education, and then your instructional support services within those costs per ADM. So again, comparing to your state averages and similar districts, this one is actually higher than average and has been for most of the past 5 years.
Does that include online too?
Okay. And then this slide is just summarizing your self-insurance fund over the past 5 years. So your darker color is going to be your expenses, the lighter blue is your revenues, and then the greenish yellow is going to be your net position sitting in that fund at the end of the year. So overall, your net position did decrease by about $1 million. Total claims went up by about 3.2 million, and your charges for services increased by about $696,000.
And I'm just gonna add on that one, we didn't increase our premiums as high. We said we could use some fund balance for that. So this was a planned spend down. And we still, even with that planned spend down, are at over a 50% fund balance.
But that fund balance you're talking about just with the self-insured.
You got it.
You're not talking about the unassigned.
I wish I was.
Yeah.
And then this slide here, again, your self-insurance fund, this is just showing your net position as a trend line over the past 5 years. So at the end of the year, your net position is sitting at $9.5 million. And then your revenues can fluctuate year to year depending upon the claim, same with your expenses. And that was all I had. Does anybody have any questions for me?
And the actual financial statements are also linked in the agenda if you want something to read when you're going to bed tonight.
I'll put you to sleep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Becca.
Thank you.
No, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Marcy, I do have
Bye.
a thought.
Yeah.
Question. Since Peter had the lady do that enrollment report for us, how long did that look out for?
10 years.
10 years. I think, have we ever done a 5-year budget projection with enrollments? Where we actually sat down and looked at, here is what our best numbers are, and really looked at it in depth?
So our projection model for enrollment does go out to 5 years, but we haven't actually sat down and calculated the budgets for that.
Okay.
But we do have the enrollment model for ADMs does go out multiple years.
I really think that's something this board should consider doing, to maybe make it easier for future boards to look at things. I mean, in some respects, we don't, we go from kind of year to year, it seems like.
Yes.
And it would be kind of nice to sit down and do a budget projection with projected enrollments, just to see where we're at, what can we do, what can't we do, what do we need to change, what do we need to correct. I really think that's something we should really strongly look at doing as a board.
It's a good idea.
And that might be something that Superintendent-elect Rankin probably might want to get involved with as well, and really sit down and look at some numbers, and so we can kind of not surprised. I guess no one likes to be surprised. So
Sounds good.
One thing we gotta remember about that, deal that Hazel did, she's the same person that did one 10 years ago for the referendum, and she said everything was gonna go up 7 or 8%. So it's a little by gosh, by golly, it's kind of crystal ball-y a little bit.
I know, but that's why we have interim, we can look at interim goals and things like that. Right now, when we're looking at an interim goal, we might only be looking at 6 months because we only really look at stuff year to year. So budgets always change. I mean,
But that.
new forecasts, I mean.
Hazel's pre-2018 had no idea that COVID was gonna occur.
It's true.
Yeah.
But we also, before 2018, weren't down 1,040 students, so that can get corrected too. In 3 or 4 years, you never know. We were only down 300. You have a huge difference. So it's like, there's opportunities out there. Not to be a total panic.
Yep, I just think it's something we need to put on our radar and really take a look at it, so we're not surprised.
We'll still be surprised because,
Yeah,
the
we'll be
legislature
surprised.
will come in and.
Yeah, you don't know if they're gonna.
Yeah, but at least we can maybe prepare.
No.
Prepare a little bit. I mean, yeah, those people down there are, well, I'm not gonna go there.
All right, if there
Yeah.
aren't any other questions, we'll look for a motion to approve the 24-25 annual audit.
Motion.
Second.
We've got a motion by Director Donalinger, a second by Director Heidman. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Thanks, Marcy.
Thanks, Marcy.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the 27-28 and 28-29 school year calendars as presented. Director Lundgren, welcome.
All right, so the proposed calendars, they were shared last week at the work session and linked in your packet into the agenda. Just a couple of items to note that are shifts from our current two-year calendar schedule. One is the removal of the 2 half-days at the end of each semester. So semester 1 and semester 2 would move back to a full student contact day. The second item to note is the spring break being reduced to a full week to two days, so a shorter spring break. And then the third item to note is that on both calendars, the last student day would be the Friday before Memorial Day weekend. So those are the 3 big shifts, I guess, in this calendar proposal.
Make a motion.
All right, got a motion by Director Donalinger. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Director Edelman. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, lots of questions.
I ask this annually, has all the units weighed in on the calendar?
So the calendar committee is made up of principals, an EA rep, a teacher rep, athletic rep, and then a couple district reps. And so there's representation on the committee as far as.
Say those again, please.
Yep, so principals, EA, teacher, athletics, and district reps.
They're all on the calendar committee?
There's representation.
Okay.
And then
they've all weighed in on it as well. And you did you did a survey too?
Correct. That went to staff and families.
Yep, I see that. And the survey came out with, this is the calendar that everybody kind of prefers. Okay?
That's all I was gonna say is the survey. This calendar is reflective of the results of the survey. So it's kind of a major change to go from a full week spring break
Yeah.
to only 2 days, but that was, we listened to the stakeholders basically. How this came.
Is the advantage of fact to get out earlier?
1, 2 is just increasing student contact days earlier in the year as we're looking towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then just a recognition of the feedback from families regarding breaks over the course of the year.
All right, we've got a motion on the table from Director Donalinger, a second from Director Ederman. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Okay, thank you. We will move on to, thank you, Policy 602, Organization of School Calendar and School Day. There was a couple things on here. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Grant. We are bringing back policy 602, excuse me, to you this evening. We've had some previous discussions about specific language and clarity that is needed. I'll draw your attention to the top of page 2. We've added some clarity about e-learning days, specifically in differentiating between elementary and secondary students. You'll also notice that the inclement weather designation has been stricken, but that is also up to your purview to decide if you would like that to stay in or stay out. The timing of this is so that we can offer teachers some time during back-to-school workshop for planning if we are going to have e-learning days next year.
Help me understand why we would or would not have inclement weather as being part of the description.
Just a board preference. It doesn't have to be because of inclement weather. It's nice to have that option. For the last couple of years, we've had to add days at the end of the school year for staff because of snow days. And so if there were an opportunity to not make those days up at the end of the year, and go to an e-learning or an alternative learning day for elementary students, it would be more consistent with our published school calendar. And it gives us then some expectations about when learning would happen. Christina just spoke to having more learning days earlier in the year than at the end of the year. And now we are kind of, this year as an example, I hope spring is here, but if spring isn't here, Peter's laughing at me. If spring has not yet arrived and there was some situation where it wasn't safe to hold school, we would have to have a very specific conversation about what that means in terms of meeting the requirements of the contractual agreements for our groups of educators, but also making sure that students get access to learning as they need to.
Madam Chair?
Yep.
I don't remember when it was, but this board, I believe, voted almost, I think it was 6-0 vote to get rid of e-learning days. Are changing our calendar, we're going down to 2 days for spring break, correct?
Yep, not next year, the following year, yep.
Correct. The way this is written, and my feeling is that I'd like to see it go back to committee again one more time. I'd like to have language clarified. Right now, I understand the thought is, okay, it allows for flexibility. Well, then let's put that in there. Let's have language in here that says that there is flexibility, that, you know, it just seems to me like this is just a gut feeling that I have. We're gonna use e-learning days. That's what we're gonna do.
So Director Heidman, can you provide me some more context for that? Are you asking for specific examples?
No, I just,
or-
my gut's telling me that if we have a snow day, we're gonna have an e-learning day. We're not gonna have a snow day. That's my gut,
Sure,
because
yeah.
we're giving flexibility, and we kind of took away that flexibility with almost a 6-0 vote regarding e-learning. Now we want to bring it back in. Let me ask a couple of other questions. Do we have a plan currently?
We do not have a district-wide plan currently.
So what did we do this year when we had 2 e-learning days?
We made that up with the support of the high school staff to be able to create that environment in that unexpected consequence.
High school
Yeah.
water problem.
Right, the high school water
Yeah,
problem.
it was.
So we don't have a plan now.
We do not have a systemic plan right now. Did the high school teachers rise to the occasion and make it the best possible outcome for kids? Yes.
Well,
But it would be nice to have offer them some time for planning and thoughtful intention around what learning might happen. I'll go back to your previous statement, and you could add back in except for inclement weather if you chose to. Right now it's stricken, but that is something that you could direct us to do.
it's potentially stricken.
Potentially stricken, thank you.
How did it come up? How did we vote on it the last time? Whose idea was it? Was it ours as the board, or did you guys want to get rid of it? Because it hasn't worked anywhere. It's like you can't pick up anything to read that says there was anything good about it, except for kids that want to go online that have that mentality, and that's what they're going to do. I haven't found anything positive that's got anything great to say about what happened during COVID with all the online learning. All the parents, the grandparents were trying to make the kids do their homework. I mean, we've been through this before. So we already voted this down. I think it's been for sure within the last 12 months, if not last summer. So why are we, what's the deal? Why does this keep coming back up? Because I have zero interest in this. And I don't think that there's many parents that have interest in it. And we have tough enough time around here keeping kids interested in going to school here. And I think we should try to, let's just try to keep toeing the line like we've been doing.
The flexibility is not about, we get hung up on e-learning day. If we cancel school because of snow, question's gonna be, are you gonna make it up or not?
Well, you made them up for the last 100
Yeah,
years,
but
so what difference is it?
But when you run out of calendar days, so our last option was April 16th. We lucked out that the other schools had to go either a late start or cancel because of that snow, and we didn't because we didn't have students that day. Knowing Minnesota, you could have 2 feet of snow at the beginning of May, drop out of nowhere. Nobody wants to go to school at the end of the school year. You don't want to end it in June. So the point, I mean, you don't want to add it in June. Originally, if you're watching weather reports in the morning, I'm dumb enough to do that. And there's this weather event, they'll identify as an E-day. Therefore, school is not canceled. Therefore, you're not adding days to the end of the year.
But we've
That's the
already
whole
known,
point.
Peter, that there's no value to it, so you might as well just not go.
Well, but there's a value to it as far as meeting the needs of the contract.
How about meeting?
Well, at least say you're honest.
How about,
Yeah, well, it's
okay.
true.
At least
I
you're
mean,
honest about it.
we get into arguments, well, is this, I'll tell you how crazy it gets. If, I can't remember what, one of the first days I canceled school. It was not really good, it was not good for people to drive to work, plain and simple. So I said, eat it. We're gonna eat the day. People went nuts because some of them said, well, how does that count toward, I was gonna take a PTO day that day. Now, do I lose my PTO day? Do I make it up? And I'm going, we're trying to look at what's the best for everybody. If we're gonna panter to
Way the
an
ball
individual,
bounces.
so then you say, okay, the next time I won't do that. Then I got chewed out because I didn't. Carte blanche. So you can't win or lose, but if you do an E-day, everybody has to do something. Cause they have to check in on their kids, they have to have a
People that suffer on the
program.
E-day are the kids, because we already know they don't learn anything.
Well, but we're talking one day, not 6 months. I mean, it's an escape clause. I mean, to be honest with you, it's an escape clause.
But the alternative would be they come back at the end of the school
Yeah,
year.
if you don't have it, if you don't,
If we have enough.
Yeah, I would say if there's snow days to be had, use the snow days until we're out.
the real danger is you kind of do have built-in days when we have a work in-service day or a vacation day. But when you get into Minnesota in late April, Katie, bar the door, because you're gonna get hammered someplace, and then you go, now what are we gonna do? And nobody, the students, the teachers, the EAs, the custodians, the food service, everybody, we're gonna do one more day at the end of the year when everybody's pounding on the door to get
No
out.
one's learning anything that day.
It's a waste of time. So the E-day, at least you can coop something, recoup, I mean.
And I have great confidence in our educators that they
Yeah.
can plan something of value for a day or 2 days. We're not planning for 6
So
months.
basically what you're saying is that we don't. That's what you just said. You said that you have great confidence in your educators, so you don't think we have confidence in those educators?
No, that's not what I'm saying, DJ.
Well, then what are you saying?
What I'm saying is I heard
That's the way you're wording it.
I heard you say something about that it's not of value for the students to have an e-learning day.
It's not.
I am confident that we could make it worthy of an E-day experience. Is it the same as being in school? No. Can we continue to do the ad hoc from time to time in an emergency? We can, but I'm not convinced that that is best for students either. It would be nice to be able to give a district-wide plan so that students, families, and teachers can prepare in the event of an e-learning day.
Madam Chair? So I'm gonna go back to, I think Superintendent Grant raised the point that this is, meets the contract need. And I get that, and we should all understand that, I get that. But I also understand DJ's point about, and Randy, all of our points about, you know, a lot of, it has proven to be during COVID, not a productive situation. So my question is this, and I think DJ said, where did this come from? So who brought this change to us? And more importantly, what did it involve? It's a contract thing? Have the contract people been involved in the restructuring of, the rewording of this policy?
We have not brought it to the bargaining units.
So no meet and confer, no MOU?
We have talked about it in meet and confer, but we have not asked them for an endorsement. We have talked about it with the groups.
Well, that's a problem for me.
Okay.
That's a problem for me, because if it's a contractual thing, which it is, it absolutely is a contractual thing, then people that are under the contract should have some kind of input.
I agree.
Okay, I'll vote no.
In my understanding, when we went from e-learning to no e-learning, was a result of some surveying of staff and families. And we took the, am I right in that? When we took the
think you are.
results of that input and decided overwhelmingly, as I remember, staff and families did not want an e-learning, did not want the e-learning days. Now, when we have our contract, I have two questions. When we have our contract or the calendar, there are snow days designated, right? Like this is your first, if there's a snow day, this is your first makeup day. Or you get maybe a day or two or 3 or whatever that you don't have to make up.
It's-
And then,
It's not worded as being a snow day, so it can, if there's a in-service day or a vacation day, those are the first opportunities you can
Okay.
use.
you don't designate on the calendar what your first.
Well, yeah, it'd be the first in-service day or something like that,
Okay, after.
depending on how Mother Nature treats us.
Yeah.
How many do we have built in? Four? Four?
Two. Okay.
Two.
My other question is, what does support staff and food service and those folks do on those days?
That's a great question that I can't answer because I'm not familiar with the contract for food service employees. I can tell you what we've tentatively planned is to have educational assistants do some support for students those days.
Okay.
We have not done a whole lot of planning on this because this has kind of been an ongoing conversation and we didn't want to get too far ahead of the conversation that needs to be had here. It is, I don't have a personal recommendation or an endorsement. This is just something that our exec team has talked about and wanted to bring forward to the board so that we can be thoughtful and intentional about how we plan support for students and teachers next year.
I'm with John. I think it's really important that we have staff input
Mhm.
for.
Don't get me wrong, I think this is an important,
It is.
it is an
I
important
get
discussion.
it, but-
There's no question about it. But let's involve everybody that's involved.
I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, but I can tell you one thing, food service is gonna be, they ain't gonna be preparing food on an e-learning day. I
That's
can
true.
tell you that,
That's true.
you know, so.
Good point, Randy.
So if we were to strike the except during inclement weather, this would essentially be emergency use, like we had the issue with the water at the high school.
Correct.
So,
We could do that anyways, and it doesn't say that if you read it. You
right,
see where it reads it's emergency use only?
no.
I don't either.
But I mean, that's essentially what this means if we were to take out except during inclement weather. And if we had the snow days in the calendar, it could say, and if we use up all of the snow days in the calendar, or something like that.
Sure, yeah. It can be whatever you want.
Yeah,
This is just the revisions we made after the last conversation.
I mean, the quality of learning happening June 2nd versus on an E-day, I think is debatable, and I would take an E-day probably over June 2nd.
Yep.
If those were the two options personally, but so I think there is some merit to that discussion.
I know how much.
Madam Chair, you're on the policy committee, right?
Mhm.
I don't know where we stand with the motion, but,
There isn't one.
There isn't one yet.
there is not one? Well, then I'm gonna make a motion that we send it back to committee for further discussion and, language and, bring it to another board meeting.
I second that.
Okay,
We have that on May 14th, the policy meeting.
so we've got a motion by Director Heidman, a second by Director Brecken to bring this back to policy committee, and let's make sure we've got all of the things that we would like to see happen in that time.
We have a roll call vote on this one?
Yeah.
Is there a possibility too, based upon what John's comment was, is there any way that you guys can do a mini survey of the staff?
We can, and we can also bring it back to meet and confer and our other groups that would be impacted. Absolutely.
Okay, it would be good to have that information.
Thank you.
All right, so we've got a motion on the table, and we have asked for a roll call vote. So let's do a roll call vote.
Madam Chair, the motion the motion is to bring it back to policy committee, correct?
Correct.
To review everything,
Yep.
Yes.
okay,
And get input.
and get input.
We sent it back last month,
Yep,
let's not forget.
yep,
We sent it
yep.
back last month for weather. Now we got new reasons this month. Sometimes you just gotta make a decision, you know? Did do it last month.
All right, is there any
That was
further
our problem last
discussion?
month. Now we have new problems.
If not, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
TJ Dondelinger,
No.
Stephanie Edelman,
No.
Randy Heidman,
Yes.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes,
Michelle Brecken.
Yes.
Passes 4-2.
Thank you, Kelly. All right, we'll move on to the approval of resolution for non-renewal of non-tenured teachers. We've got Director Olson, I believe.
Good evening, board members. Before you tonight is a recommendation for approval of non-renewals for teachers on Tier 1 licensure and also probationary non-renewals for either performance or budgetary concerns.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So, Director Wilson, looks like there's 7 people that we're talking about.
Sir.
Couple on Tier 1 and couple on Tier 3 and 4, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And these are all based on budgetary kind of situations?
Either, well, the Tier 1 licensures, I mean, we're basically required to do by law. It's a 1-year license, so, you know, we have to go through that process of
Yep.
reposting.
Yep.
The other ones noted are for either performance reasons or budgetary concerns.
Okay. So, these people may or may not be eligible for future positions?
Correct.
May?
They may be, any employee is always welcome to apply,
Okay,
be considered.
all right. Thank you.
Look for a motion if there aren't any further
Motion.
questions. Is there a second?
Can I ask a question before I
No, can't.
I mean,
I'll second it so we can have discussion.
All right, thank you. All right, we've got a motion and a second. Further discussion?
So haven't we already, on the consent calendar, haven't we already approved these folks for being non-renewed?
They were approved on the consent calendar, but this resolution, I suppose it could trump that. I hate to use that word, but, you know,
Okay,
We prefer not to put it under consent.
but it was, I mean,
I mean, as far as
got it, okay.
identification,
Identification.
this makes it official.
Okay, okay, I understand. That was my confusion.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
So what's the probationary period, Jason? How long does that last?
for teachers who are new to the teaching profession in Minnesota, it's 3 years. And then for individuals who have previously attained tenure or past probation in another district, then it's 1 year in our district.
Okay. And to go back to John's question, this has to do with budgetary cuts?
Some of the are due to budget, some are due to performance issues.
Okay.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Stephanie Ederman,
Yes.
Randy Heidman,
Yes.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Michelle Brecken.
Yes.
TJ Dondelinger.
Yes.
Thank you, Kelly. All right, next we'll look at the approval of the code upgrades to the thank you. Look at the approval of the code upgrades for the Brainerd High School's warehouse elevator.
Good evening. First item up for approval, we have code upgrades to the warehouse elevator at the Brainerd High School. The elevator was installed, believe it or not, prior to 1972. It's a traction elevator, which means it's got a gear and a counterweight. And unfortunately, that system is obsolete. And we're no longer.
It's almost 50,
We're-
50 years old.
Sounds like a lift bridge.
So it is working fine, and when we do get an operating permit for it, but we are required, they gave us 5 years to get the upgrades done. So we're able to use long-term facility maintenance funds to make this improvement, and the state contract for that is just under $200,000. And it's gonna be upgraded to a hydraulic double-cylinder elevator.
Is that LCFM money?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion, we approve the VHS warehouse elevator.
Second.
We've got a motion by Director Brecken, a second by Director Dondelinger. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
All right, the next item up for approval is the flooring project that we talked about at a facility committee meeting. I think it was back in September, October of this year. We finally were able to get everything laid out and get pricing back. The flooring in the building has never been replaced since 2007, so we're coming on 20 years old. And it's showing its age, and it's linoleum. And we're gonna move into a carpet style material that is gonna help with sound attenuation, lower maintenance costs. We won't have to strip and wax every year, so we're gonna go that route with it. We worked with Dr. Stelmach with choosing some colors to make it a little bit more fun for everybody in each different pod, and that's all I have. Is there any questions regarding that?
And that's coming out of LTA.
That is out of LTFM as well.
It won't last as long, will it?
This stuff, it should last 15 to 20 if it's taken care of. It's and it's squares as well. So
I have those in my
kinda,
business.
I mean, in the entryways where that's gonna get the high traffic, we use walk-off carpet, and it's a little bit more durable. But if maintained properly, we hope to get 15 years out of it. Realistically, probably 15. I would say.
Like in my business, we just don't put it in because it looks so terrible so fast that you have to replace it. Here, is it okay if I ask a couple questions?
Yeah.
This is just me for my craziness. What is the 1.3182 factor?
That is, so when we use the Gordian system, the company High Tech, who is the Gordian contract holder in the area, that is their fee for their service.
Oh, I thought they were taking it off. So
Oh.
they're adding it.
I
So they're
believe-
making 32%. So they're saying this is cost. You know, it just blows my mind that nylon carpet is $48 a yard now. Is that right? I mean, here's the deal. It's 5,961 yards. I thought I was doing the math right. When I started going through your quote, I did do it right. And it's $591,000.
I mean, that's with labor to install, remove
I
the
know,
other.
I'm not saying anybody's screwing us. I'm just like, wow.
Yeah,
It's a lot of money. It's a
gonna
lot of money for carpet.
Yeah.
Like if it was ceramic tile or something that was gonna hold up for 30 years. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it.
Right.
But man, oh man. I just can't believe I'm not out to lunch on what things cost.
It's a lot easier to replace a square of carpet than a group
Oh,
of
I have
tile.
them. I have them in my businesses and it's not quite what it's cracked up to be. Corners start peeling. Once you replace them, when they first put them down, they're great. When you start replacing them, it's not quite as shiny as they tell you. But whatever.
Kind of like buying tires.
You don't even buy tires. You just trade your car in, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Good one. Jeff, I have a question.
Yes.
A handful of people,
You.
I talked to, when it gets, in like in the wintertime and it's, the floor gets wet in Forest Field, it's really slippery.
Yep.
You know, those stairs that when you walk into entry and they're kind of circular?
Yes.
believe a lady slipped and, is that being replaced as well? Or what are we doing? What are we gonna do for that?
So for those areas, we are planning on putting down some like traction strips.
Gotcha.
So to help prevent that, but yes, I was aware of that too, and Peter brought that to our attention, and when we're taking care
Gotcha,
of it.
yeah,
Yep.
because it does get slippery.
Yep, yep, and to help prevent that as well, we're gonna put some walk-off carpet in that main entry area of
Okay.
Forest View to get rid of the 42 different mats that are currently there that look awful.
Well, I make a motion, we approve the Forest View flooring.
I'll second it.
Got a motion by Director Breckman, a second by Director Dondelinger. Any further discussion? And I would like to abstain because it looks like this is a Sourcewell contract, so just want to note that. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
We'll move on to committee meeting updates, and we'll start with Finance and Legislative Committee, Director Ward.
Okay, so, we had a meeting on on March 26th. Marcy indicated the new accountant starts on April 6th, 2026, right, Marcy? And, she indicated today that so far everything's going well. We did talk about, the $1 million transfer construction, fund to the general fund, House File 4306. That doesn't have a Senate author yet. So we don't know that it's gonna move at all, but a number of people, including some community members and administration and board members, have contacted our legislative delegation and asked them to do what they can. That is also true with the seasonal tax replacement aid bill and the educational employees insurance program. So it's been, people have been advocating and lobbying for those bills will help significantly, have the possibility to help significantly in the financial aspect of school districts, so we'll see what happens. One of the things that I indicated to the committee is that no bill is dead. They talk about deadlines. The finance deadlines is this Friday, I'm pretty sure, this Friday. And the policy deadline is already come and gone, but deadlines don't mean squat, honestly. You can get a bill added onto an omnibus bill at the end of the session. The only thing that kills a bill is 2 words, sine die. And when you hear that, then they're done. So if anybody has still wants to contact legislators to support those bills, do it, please. Marcy talked about transportation, RFPs for transportation. Looking at two responses. We still looking at 2 responses, Mars? Okay, very good. And then also she talked about RFPs for school portraits, the audit, and building and grounds snow removal. And we're doing that as well. That's my report, Madam Chair, unless anybody has questions.
Thank you.
John, I got a question.
Yeah.
What is this stuff about the land around Forest View?
Oh.
What is that all about? I mean,
So, do you want me to?
Go ahead, because it's over my head to do the
Okay,
most part.
so there's some assessments that were over in that area.
Okay.
And I can't remember if it was because of the Baxter Elementary School building, I think it was. And so, our local representative wanted some relief for some tax assessments in that area. So he was asking for us to work with some relief and assessments for those along with this bill that we were asking for. Kind of a work it together kind of deal.
Kind of a quid pro quo.
Yeah,
I have a bill
exactly.
that you and my bank.
Exactly.
Well, we don't pay.
No, they pay us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still confused. I don't understand.
It's complicated.
I mean, it's our land.
And it's
The land around Forest
The
View is.
neighbors pay us and
Right.
we give them a discount. That's what they're trying to do.
Okay.
Right.
Yep, and Representative Heitzman would like to know if we would forgive and I thought, well, maybe we could do 50-50 and you give us a deal and we'll give you a deal.
That's right. Superintendent Grant did a nice job
Okay.
with
Yeah,
that.
I was just kind of confused because, so they're gonna give.
But a casino.
It's not gonna happen, it's not gonna happen because the bill.
Right, but we were gonna offer a reduction in property tax relief or
That was-
something?
we
It's an assessment.
proposed, it's an assessment, right,
Oh, okay.
with the construction of the Baxter Elementary School. So,
Oh, little,
let's talk about it later.
okay. I was just confused because it was
Yeah.
force view land.
No, yeah, that's a good question, it's a good question, right?
Okay, thank you, Johnny.
All right. Thank you, Director Ward.
Yep.
I apologize. We do have number 7 on our agenda that I skipped over, the 2 items that we moved off of the consent calendar.
Oh, the MOUs.
The MOUs. So I'm gonna rewind and go back to the EA MOU and the first food service MOU.
Okay.
Dr. Olson.
Hello again.
And it was just, Jason, we've had a short conversation. I was just curious as to how many people it involved and,
Sure.
you know,
You bet. Yeah, we're proposing for you tonight 2 MOUs for early retirement incentive. Any funds, if any individuals would take the incentive, that would come out of our OPEB, our other post-employment benefit fund, so it wouldn't come out of the general fund. And we're using the same criteria that we did for the teachers at 25 years and age 58.
Gotcha.
But it's a $10,000 incentive versus $25,000 for the teacher group. With our cooks, we would have 7 employees eligible out of 42. And for our educational assistants, and this is on like November's data, so could have changed a little bit, but 17 eligible out of 200.
I have a question. It says that, what are we doing this for starters?
Sure.
I mean, I got the teacher thing, but the more I think about that, I'm still trying to get my arms quite around that. So are we replacing these positions?
Some are being replaced. I mean, there's some.
Some or all or?
Well, to the extent we can eliminate or reduce positions, we would always want to look at that. Food service is different because that's a separate fund, so it's not affecting, the general fund.
So then what's the purpose of this?
Yeah, I mean, some of it's an opportunity for leadership to look at some possible new iterations, new organizational setups and systems, things like that. But then if we do end up posting and filling positions, then they'd come in at a lower rate, so some of that turnover differential.
So we pay retirement on these positions. It says the MOU is in addition to the retirement provisions of the CBA.
Yep, so whatever provisions are currently in there.
So if I was 58, but if I stayed till I was 62, then the district wouldn't pay retirement on me for 4 years, correct?
Correct.
So when do they normally get to, what's normal? 62, 65, 67, what's normal?
I would have to pull up that information. I don't have it memorized. I can get that to you, though, what those provisions are.
I kind of, this still confuses me just a little bit because if all we're gonna do, let's just say that it's 65, because we don't know. We're gonna pay 7 years more vacation. Let's throw an extra 10 grand on top of it. Save the money today, let's just say it's $5 an hour. I'll bet you in 7 years, we're spending more. The same 7 years the person would have stayed and worked. I'm not as excited about this as I was when the first time you pitched it to me. I've thought about it a little bit and I'm kind of like, how does that work? It doesn't add to me.
Well, to some degree, bringing in fresh minds helps performance.
I would say that's right.
And if there's an incentive to say, if I left now, my life, I don't need to work here anymore, I don't want to work here anymore, I'm just taking up space, it's kind of a open the door, thank you.
But then why would we have to give them $10,000 if they don't want to be here anymore?
But it comes out of OPEC anyway. It doesn't do anything to our general. It's an incentive. Just like when
Comes out of
we're gonna do it.
OPEB.
That's our
OPEB.
OPEB.
So our
But it's just
OPEB's
like when
going down though, right?
Well, it's just like we have an incentive for hiring for SLP positions. It's an incentive. We would like to have 2 people come in who have that special licensure.
Yep, I saw that.
Same thing.
I'm on board with
It's
that.
the same thing. You're in or you're out. We're looking for creativity.
I'm looking to save some money.
Yeah, it
I don't
is saving
see,
us money.
I don't see how this is saving us money. I'm having a tough time getting my arms around it, and you're not giving me any good information to make me feel good about it. So don't blame me. Sorry I asked a hard question. I mean, I realize the OPEB deal. Marcy told me that the OPEB, we haven't been keeping up on it. You know, today we saw it's at what, 9.75 or something like that? I think when we first got on the board, it was like 13. So our claims are kind of nipping away. Is that what that OPEB is? Yeah.
Now,
So,
I mean, another factor
trust,
to
you know.
consider, right, is just our overall age demographic of our workforce. These are individuals who are probably in the back nine of their career, certainly.
Like
And when-
myself.
Right, right. So when you think about how that hits our books for our health insurance, I mean, that is some potential opportunities to exit maybe higher cost claimants and replace with individuals who maybe not be higher costs. I mean, everyone's situation is different.
Well, I don't mean to be I almost swore in my first meeting already. Aren't they gonna stay on our insurance?
No. It depends on the group, whether they stay on our insurance.
Gotcha.
And a lot of them are, you know, a number of them are Medicare eligible, but they're still on our plan.
Is there a deadline when they have to use the assets from the health reimbursement arrangement?
There's not.
Okay, because I know a school district, I mean, it's a plan that we have, and we determine whether or not the medical expense they turn in is eligible to be turned in and covered, but
I mean, my understanding that money is there for that employee's life and then to their spouse as well.
until they use the 10 grand up.
Yep.
Or they just save it and somebody they can take it out, you know, you can earn that tax free. I
But
think.
it's a health
Do we,
savings.
there's no benefit, there's no death benefit to
HSAs.
a health reimbursement
Yeah.
arrangement.
Correct.
Well,
TJ.
And the other point is, because I've been through it too many times, the HRA, HSA, you have certain qualifications you can use it for. It's just not carte blanche.
Right.
This is different
Because
than
when
a
you send in,
HSA.
when you send a claim, they're gonna say yes or no. Where it goes.
Well, it's no different than your health insurance. The deal is if you take that money out, right, let's just say you want to spend it on a new motorcycle, you'd have to pay tax on it.
You can't take that out.
You
It's
can't.
strictly for
For,
health.
for HRA, sir, the money goes in.
HRA or
Yep.
HSA?
HRA.
HSA you
No,
can take out.
You can take it out, HSA for whatever you want, you gotta pay tax and penalty possibly, but, yeah. I did
Not
that
an
for-
HRA though.
I did that for too many years, that's why I retired.
Is it a health retirement account? Is that what?
Health reimbursement arrangement.
Health reimbursement
But I
account.
think
Yeah,
they must
we
change it.
determine whether or not that medical expense is a covered expense.
Well, it's determined under statute and plan
Correct.
docs, but
Under
yeah.
the plan.
Yep.
The plan determines it.
I make a motion, we approve the MOU for the food service and for the EAs or support staff.
Was there a third one?
No, I think it's just the two.
Just the two.
Early
Just those two. Just those two.
retirement, The MOU early retirement incentive for educational assistance and food service.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion from Director Brecken and a second from Director Ward. Any further discussion? Not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right, we'll get back to committee meeting updates.
Did you want to talk about the SLP MOU or is that somewhere else?
That was on the consent agenda.
Oh, that's
No,
done.
that didn't get full.
Good work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason.
I was confused.
Run, Jason.
Jason, wait a minute.
All right, we'll move back to committee meeting updates and Director Ward with APAC.
Okay, so I also talked about this at our work session, but the report from the APAC meeting, just a couple things I'm going to highlight. The members of the APAC committee felt disconnected, disappointed with the response by the board and the administration to their non-concurrence response to us. They wanted us to know that the response needs to come from the school board, not the administration by state statute. And we talked a little bit about that we've got to do a better job kind of collaborating with that to have that happen or whatever. And the reason the response is so important to the APAC is that the data that they're asking for is data that helps them get grants for different, attendance or, discipline or whatever. So that data is important to that group for, future funding for different, issues or whatever. So that's about it. I mean, there's good discussion. It was my first meeting, so I'm on a huge learning curve. Steph has been there in the past, but I haven't, so I'll just leave it at that. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to try and answer them.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, next up, we've got Brainerd Public Schools Foundation, Director Edelman.
Okay, so they had 190 submitted scholarship applicants. 15 were abandoned in the draft, though. Crowing Power committed to 46 scholarships at $1,500 each. So that is huge. The scholarship recognition night is Wednesday, May 20th. It's doors open at 6. Program starts at 6:30. It's at the GZ Center. And they would like volunteers, so if anybody wants to help out volunteering that night, it's a great night. And that was pretty much it today.
Great, thank you. All right, Safe and Welcoming Schools Committee, Director
I
Brown.
unfortunately was not able to attend the last meeting, so I don't have an update on that. And the Wellness Task Force meets tomorrow.
All right, thank you. The Business Services Report, Director Lord. Sorry, we caught you off guard.
Slacking tonight. So the financial report in your packet, the first one is for the month of February, on track. There is a new little section, Director Dondelinger, you asked for that last month, that shows the building construction fund balance is about 2.1 million, and then the post-employment or OPEB trust funds at about 15.6 million.
So I was a little off on that.
And then
I thought I was looking at the wrong one.
And then the second page on that one is the June, so we did just close out the year, so I'm doing the final June financial report for last year. 2.02% under budget overall at the very bottom. And then, I didn't say this during the financial statements, but I do have bound ones if you prefer the paper over electronic, you just let me know.
You mean that 124?
Yes, they do provide a couple of copies. I did not print them.
Okay, that's really okay.
Ryan.
Save it 3 or 5.
And then also in your packet is the enrollment report.
I'll have it.
We're down 133 from the beginning of the school year. 5-year average is 83, so we are still tracking high. It was only 3 though from last month, so that was a positive. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Marcy. All right, Superintendent report.
So today our executive committee met and Chip joined us. And we had some pretty frank discussions about the district and where we're going, what's gonna happen and so forth. So there's a couple of things I don't wanna end like this, but I'm just gonna be blunt with you guys. When you think back to Hazel's report, which is almost 2 months ago today, she predicts $1,000 student reduction in about 34. If you looked carefully at the audit report, from 21 to 25, we lost 500 kids. And I know it's a concern about some of the board or all the board. So we lost 500 in 5 years. We lost 500 5 years before. And it seems like things aren't changing on the expenditure side and the revenue side. Well, the revenue side is going to be what it is, but it really comes down to is that you guys have to have a reality check about what's going to happen. It was a very somber, very serious conversation we had today about what the next 5 years are going to look like. And I think there's a lot of denial about what's changing. I think there's a belief that we're going to have a quick rebound or something's going to happen that's not going to cause us to lose another 500 students or maybe more. And I think the implications of it are much more deeper than what's been discussed. Programming is going to change. You're going to have to change the amount of school buildings in this district. You may not close them, you may shutter them, but you might need the square footage. And maybe there'll be some creative way of using an empty building. The reality is that as our population shrinks, we can't do everything we're doing today. In fact, Chip said something today we all agreed upon. Today is probably the highest enrollment you're going to see for the next 10 years. That's a reality. And what that can mean is that what are we still going to deliver to kids that is quality in education, and who's going to do the delivering? There are state mandates you're going to have to still follow. And the question is going to be, who's going to serve the plate? Who's the director, who's the teacher, who's the person, whatever it is, the expert that's going to deliver the programming that the state still says we have to do as we make reductions. And my concern is that we're going to start eliminating some directors or administrators, whatever. That has to happen. It's part of the deal. But the question is, whose plate's going to take that on? Who's going to take on, literacy? Who's going to take on testing? Who's going to take on STEM? Who's going to take on whatever? As the watering hole shrinks, everybody starts to look at each other a little bit differently. And I'm just going to tell you that it is not going to be comfortable for the next 5 years as you struggle to try and figure out how are we going to keep our head above water, number one. Number two, how are our students going to be delivered an excellent education while we diminish what we can deliver because the constraints are going to force some things to happen. In a big, big picture, and for some of you out there, you'll know this. Where did Montgomery Wards go?
Closed.
Where did Sears go?
Closed.
Where's J.C. Penney?
Closed.
What happened to them? They couldn't stay with the competition. They didn't have a plan on how to fight the competition. And they ended up shrinking to a point where, I don't know, maybe there's 5 J.C. Penney stores left in the state of Minnesota. There could be.
There's 40 Sears left in the United States.
And my point is that they didn't anticipate, they didn't react, they didn't plan. I'm going to tell you right now, I think we are in disbelief about what's coming. We're not thinking about what should we do. 5-year plan for budgeting is probably a great idea, Randy.
Yep.
More importantly, though, is what are you going to do differently with 500 less kids 5 years from today? What do you want those remaining students, 4,300? I don't know. What do you want them to experience that has been a great opportunity prior to those 1,000 kids leaving or whatever it is? And I want to give you a heads up. The most difficult decisions have not been today, have not been about this budget. It's not going to be about next year's budget. Your job is going to become increasingly desperate of figuring out an answer. And if you finger point, you're going to lose. If you let politics run it, you're going to lose. If you don't think about how do we stretch the dollar farther than we have, you're going to lose. And I am so passionate about public education, but I'm worried to death where it's going. And the entire state is going through this. It isn't a Brainerd deal. I told the committee this morning, going into the end of this year, Minneapolis thought they were going to be 35 million deficit. They came out and said, oh, we're 50 million. What are they going to do with a $50 million deficit? And they've lost 30,000 students. So I implore you to become more creative. Find out what's really the base of what you have to do. Chip is going to need an awful lot of support. because he might end up being the bad guy sometimes down the road. The administrators sitting back there and the principals, they're gonna need a lot of support because they're gonna have to make some really tough decisions about what stays and what goes. The classroom teacher's gonna have to make some really tough decisions about who's supporting me. What can I deliver that I can't deliver anymore, and what's it gonna mean? And in the end, some things are have to go away that is good for kids because you can't afford it. Or you can't support it, or you don't have the expertise to carry it through. And I just want you to be aware of the fact that as we got the audit, the numbers don't look that bad. That is last year. That's not now, that's last year. The audit next year and the next 5 are gonna be a wake-up call. And I've said it more than once. St. Paul's not the answer. They are not the answer. If they were the answer, Minneapolis would not be $50 million in the hole. So you're gonna have to really start being creative and have open discussions and also be able to say, we just can't do this anymore, whatever the program might be or the offer is. You know, athletics and music are gonna be impacted tremendously and kids love that part. Can you offer everything you're doing today with 500 to 1,000 less kids? $17 million possibly less in your revenues. If everything stayed the same, they didn't change the formula, you're gonna lose 17 million.
Just remember, Peter, what you said.
Huh?
Just remember what you said. And if anybody wants to talk about it, I'll tell you why Sears isn't around anymore, because they didn't change.
Yeah.
And they're too top heavy. And you got to sit there and wait and have somebody grump at you. And then when you got the bag, you had to go take it back. Remember they were back in the wards? And you go stand at the counter for somebody to bark at you and try to return it. Like that business model went away.
Yep.
Kmart came in, put it right on the shelf. You could have instant gratification. Walmart came in, took out Kmart. Like this is what, I think you're right on the money on this deal.
The competition is
We've got
for our
competition.
students.
We need to
Well,
wake
look
up.
what's happened in the last 3 years. 3 new elementary schools. That should tell you everything. They're all private.
Where are they? I mean, we got the one.
We got 3. When Hazel gave her report, we lost 300 elementary kids to these private schools.
But St. Franny and Lake Region have been here forever.
Yeah, but there's 3 new ones.
These are 3 brand new ones.
3 brand new ones.
Yeah, the Starry, they renamed themselves Oak
Yeah.
something.
You may think that they're not doing much damage.
Well, they
All
are.
you have to take away is 15 kids,
I've been talking about it.
because that's a 13-year ripple. So I want you to know the challenge is gonna be tremendous, but it's also a great opportunity to do
Exactly.
something that you've never done before, and that is
Win.
start changing the future. Don't wait for it.
Agreed.
Start changing it, so.
And Superintendent Grant, you're, like DJ said, you're right on. Not besides the 3 new elementaries, St. Francis is talking about putting a new high school there.
Yeah.
Pillager online, if you look at, if you're a friend on Facebook with Pillager, they have a marketing thing right now going on with their kindergarten and first and second grade, saying, are you looking for a school? Come on and try it. So it's not just private, there's a lot of competition amongst the public system as well.
And they have the same rules as we do from St. Paul, and they're getting
Yeah,
the same,
absolutely.
they're getting clipped the same as we are.
Yep.
Yeah, we just gotta be creative. We gotta figure it out. We can do
Anyway,
it. It's not,
sorry to end it that way, but after a meeting this morning, I thought it was really important to share that.
Yeah.
We had some really frank discussions, and it's not comfortable, and it's prickly in the back of your hair.
Thing is, we're all a team. And
Yeah.
we have to act like a team and, we'll figure stuff out.
You're gonna have to.
And,
Indiana football.
but we gotta remember what we're all about though, and that's educating kids. That's our #1 goal.
Thank you, Peter.
Yep.
All right, there's a list of future meetings there. I'd add to that list the Anastasia the Musical is going on this weekend if you're in town. Want to hit it up? The kids have been working hard on it. All right, and we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make it.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
Did that personnel meeting get
Motion,
moved?
we are adjourned. Thank you.
Personnel